Mario and Donkey Kong have existed for over 40 years now. Personally, for me, these two are among my top favorite Nintendo franchises. Both of these characters were created by the one and only Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto created a game in 1981 called Donkey Kong. This is where both DK and Mario debuted in. The game's story was inspired off of King Kong. Mario, known as Jumpman at the time, had a girlfriend named Pauline. In the story of this game, he was originally known as a carpenter before he became a plumber later on. Suddenly, an ape kidnaps Pauline and takes her to the top of the building, leading Mario to go after that escaped ape. Nintendo originally wanted to make a game based on the Popeye license. Unfortunately, things didn't go as well as planned and Nintendo decided to create brand new characters. Though the Popeye characters, including the love triangle, were a main inspiration for the brand new characters. Popeye inspired Mario, Olive inspired Pauline, and Bluto inspired Donkey Kong. So the original Donkey Kong was released in 1981. You take control of Mario as you climb your way to the top to get to Pauline. You'll need to avoid many obstacles that DK sends your way. The obstacles themselves are what gives the player a challenge, because for me personally, they're more or less predictable. Take the first stage for example. Some barrels usually have a set path of rolling all the way down on each platform, making it easy for Mario to avoid, while others randomly roll down the ladders that you climb, and if Mario happens to be on that ladder when it happens, you die. And this is just stage 1. In stage 2, or 50 meters as they call it, you're climbing up a series of conveyor belts where you have to avoid fireballs and cement tubs. The belts themselves tend to rotate every so often on the 2nd, 4th, and 5th floors. Depending on my current situation, sometimes this was a problem. Oftentimes I find myself having trouble telling when the conveyor belts are going to rotate, because when it does, I'm not prepared for it and will be sent straight into an obstacle, leading to my death. For some reason, when this game was ported to the NES, this level was removed. Some say that it might have something to do with the storage limitations of the NES cartridge. Stage 3 is arguably the most difficult level of the game, mainly due to these bouncing jacks. It's likely around here that you'll discover another issue that Mario suffers from: fall damage. It can happen in all stages, but over here it's more prevalent. Mario not only has to climb up and down ladders, but also has to take elevators and do some precision platforming. And if you're not careful, you'll be plummeting down, losing a life. The springs are really only an issue when you reach to the top where Donkey Kong is at. You just have to time when it's okay to climb the ladder. The final stage is the most fun. You just have to remove all the bolts from the building to send Donkey Kong falling down, thus rescuing Pauline. Now it's on like Donkey Kong. With this being Mario's debut, his controls are pretty stiff in this game. You'll find his jumps usually for platforming and avoiding obstacles, both that require patience and timing. Jumping over obstacles gives Mario extra points. While it's short, I find Donkey Kong a fun enough game. It has a fair challenge and usually requires a lot of patience. But in 1982, the game would get a follow-up, Donkey Kong Jr. The story for this game is that Mario kidnaps Donkey Kong and his son Donkey Kong Jr. must go out and rescue him. That's right, Mario's the villain, his first and so far only antagonistic role. So in this game you play as Donkey Kong Jr., who must navigate to the top of the level to reach his father. Jr.'s controls here consist of jumping and climbing up vines. In fact, you're mostly climbing through vines than doing any sort of platforming. When climbing the vines, he's pretty slow, but getting a hold of 2 vines allows him to climb up faster. Conversely, he climbs down faster if he's using 1 vine. When reaching out from one vine to another, you have to make sure there's enough distance in between the vines, or else you'll fall. Junior isn't very agile in this game, and like Mario from the previous game, he also suffers from fall damage. If you fall from a height of more than a few pixels, you're dead. Like the last game, there are only 4 stages to navigate through. In terms of enemies, you only have lizards, snakes, and sparks, and I found these guys much easier to avoid than all the enemies in the previous game. Now because this is a short game, I recommend having patience. There's only 4 stages and there's no reason to go through it pretty quickly. Donkey Kong Jr. is definitely an interesting sequel. Climbing through vines to get to the top is pretty fun, even if there isn't a lot of platforming, but it has its own unique ideas to make it stand out from its predecessor. And last but not least, Donkey Kong 3. Good old Donkey Kong has entered a greenhouse causing trouble, and now it is up to Stanley the Bugman to stop him. So he goes from capturing a woman to being captured to taking refuge in a greenhouse. This ape has been traumatized. So in this game you have to take control of Stanley, who basically has to spray DK's butt up to the very top of the screen to move on to the next level. Sounds fun, but DK makes this harder on you by disturbing the piece of insects that will come after you, and you have to spray to kill them. Stanley's controls aren't so bad here. Along with his bug spray to shoot at enemies and DK, you also can jump up and down on platforms. So this game is basically a shoot 'em up. Now all of this sounds fun in concept, but in execution, it leaves a lot to be desired. So from what I've played, this game doesn't seem to have levels exactly, but more so rounds like the original Mario Brothers. It pretty much goes on and on. Before you can get the DK, you have to shoot a ton of insects. This game throws a lot of insects at you. The most annoying for me was the Buzzbee Queen that shoots 4 spears at you upon defeat. If I go down, I'm taking you down with me. I found myself dying a lot in this game. At times it can be fun, other times it's just a bit repetitive. I guess Donkey Kong 3 is an acquired taste. Personally, it didn't do much for me, even though I liked the concept. The Donkey Kong Arcade Trilogy is a fun little series where DK first got his start. Both Donkey Kong and Mario have branched off into their own successful franchises. These two icons put Nintendo on the map in video game history. If you have an appreciation for old video games, I highly recommend Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., though Donkey Kong 3 may vary depending on your taste. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.